The dawn of a dream. In the middle of the 19th century, the young American Republic had not yet fully established dominion over the western coastlines of the continent. California remained a distant, desolate, and largely unexplored territory. However, in the frigid January of 1848, a serendipitous discovery along the banks of the American River in the Sacramento Valley would trigger one of the most dramatic migration movements in world history. James Marshall and Sutter's Mill. The incident transpired at a lumber mill belonging to Swiss immigrant Johann August Sutter. Sutter was an influential landowner who possessed extensive acreage in California and aspired to capitalize on the agricultural potential of the region. The carpenter supervising the mill's construction, James Wilson Marshall, noticed yellowish metallic particles glistening at the bottom of the water channel during a routine inspection on the morning of January 24, 1848. Marshall suspected these glittering fragments might be gold but remained uncertain. He collected specimens and transported them to his employer. Sutter and Marshall conducted tests they had learned from the American Encyclopedia, confirming the metal was indeed pure gold. Sutter, apprehensive that this discovery might disrupt his agricultural operations on the property, attempted to maintain secrecy about the finding. However, such momentous news proved impossible to contain. Whispers become roars. Despite Sutter's desperate attempts at concealment, workers at the mill began sharing the extraordinary news with acquaintances and relatives. A storekeeper named Sam Brannan recognized the commercial opportunity and shrewdly purchased every pickaxe, shovel, and pan available in the region before the information spread widely. In May 1848, Brannan marched through the streets of San Francisco, holding a bottle filled with gold dust above his head, proclaiming enthusiastically, "Gold! Gold! Gold from the American River!" This theatrical announcement ignited instantaneous pandemonium. San Francisco, then a modest settlement of approximately 800 inhabitants, emptied almost overnight as residents abandoned their homes, businesses, and responsibilities to pursue their fortunes in the goldfields. Newspapers initially published skeptical reports, but as more evidence materialized, the confirmation became undeniable. Routes to California. News of the discovery reached the eastern United States by August 1848. The widespread excitement didn't crystallize until President James K. Polk confirmed the findings in his December address to Congress. This presidential validation transformed speculation into certainty, and the Great Migration commenced. Prospective miners faced three principal routes to California, each presenting formidable challenges and considerable dangers. The Overland Trail. This approximately 2,000-mile journey across the continental interior required traversing prairies, mountains, and deserts. Travelers organized themselves into wagon trains, departing in spring to avoid winter snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The expedition typically consumed 5 to 6 months and exposed migrants to threats including cholera, dysentery, starvation, Native American conflicts, and treacherous river crossings. The Donner Party tragedy of 1846-47 remained fresh in collective memory, serving as a grim reminder of the catastrophic consequences of miscalculation. The sea route around Cape Horn, maritime passage, involved sailing from East Coast ports around the southern tip of South America, a voyage spanning approximately 13,000 nautical miles. This journey required 5 to 8 months aboard cramped, unsanitary vessels. Passengers endured monotonous rations, spoiled provisions, tempestuous weather conditions around Cape Horn, and potential shipwreck. Nevertheless, this route appealed to those unwilling to risk overland hardships. The Panama Shortcut. This hybrid route involved sailing to Panama's Atlantic coast, traversing the disease-infested jungle isthmus by foot or mule, then boarding another vessel on the Pacific side to California. While theoretically faster, travelers encountered tremendous obstacles including yellow fever, malaria, cholera, and inadequate transportation infrastructure. The Panamanian crossing became notorious for its deadly tropical diseases and the frequent unavailability of northbound ships, leaving desperate prospectors stranded in squalid conditions. A diverse multitude. The year 1849 witnessed the arrival of approximately 80,000 gold seekers, earning them the enduring nickname 49ers. These adventurers represented extraordinary diversity in origin, background, and motivation. American citizens from every state abandoned established lives, farmers relinquished cultivated fields, merchants closed profitable enterprises, professionals forsook promising careers, and laborers deserted steady employment. The prospect of instantaneous wealth proved irresistible across social strata. International migrants arrived from numerous countries, transforming California into a cosmopolitan frontier. Chinese laborers crossed the Pacific in substantial numbers, fleeing economic hardship and political instability in their homeland. Latin Americans from Mexico, Chile, and Peru possessed geographical proximity and mining expertise. Europeans, particularly French, German, and British citizens, undertook arduous transoceanic voyages. Australian prospectors, already experienced in their continent's goldfields, contributed specialized knowledge. This unprecedented demographic convergence created a volatile cultural environment characterized simultaneously by cooperation and conflict, innovation and exploitation, opportunity and discrimination, reality versus fantasy. The romantic imagery of striking it rich dissolved rapidly upon confronting the brutal realities of mining life. Early arrivals occasionally discovered surface gold through simple panning techniques, extracting nuggets and flakes from riverbeds with minimal equipment. These fortunate individuals propagated legends that attracted subsequent waves of hopeful migrants. However, the majority encountered backbreaking labor, primitive living conditions, and disappointing returns. Miners worked from dawn until dusk, standing waist-deep in frigid water, repetitively swirling sediment in metal pans. The process demanded patience, stamina, and extraordinary physical endurance. As easily accessible deposits depleted, miners developed increasingly sophisticated extraction methods. Rockers and sluices allowed processing larger sediment volumes. Hydraulic mining, blasting hillsides with high-pressure water cannons, emerged as a devastating technique that yielded substantial gold but inflicted catastrophic environmental damage. Accommodation consisted primarily of canvas tents, crude wooden shacks, or makeshift shelters offering minimal protection against elements. Sanitation remained virtually non-existent, creating ideal conditions for disease proliferation. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and scurvy ravaged mining camps with terrifying regularity, instant cities of sin and commerce. Mining camps evolved rapidly into boomtowns, chaotic settlements that materialized seemingly overnight and occasionally disappeared just as quickly when gold deposits exhausted. These communities embodied frontier lawlessness and entrepreneurial ingenuity. San Francisco transformed most dramatically, metamorphosing from a sleepy village into a thriving metropolis. The population exploded from approximately 1,000 in 1848 to 25,000 by 1849, and continued expanding exponentially. Ships arriving in the harbor were frequently abandoned by crews who deserted to seek gold, leaving hundreds of vessels rotting at anchor. Enterprising individuals converted these derelict ships into warehouses, saloons, hotels, and even jails. Prices for basic commodities reached astronomical levels due to scarcity and insatiable demand. A single egg might cost the equivalent of $50 in today's currency. Fresh vegetables commanded premium prices, as scurvy became endemic among miners subsisting on salt pork and hardtack. Enterprising merchants accumulated fortunes by supplying prospectors rather than mining themselves, a pattern epitomized by Levi Strauss, who arrived selling canvas for tents but discovered greater profit manufacturing durable work pants. Gambling establishments, saloons, and brothels proliferated, offering miners temporary escape from harsh realities. Entertainment remained crude but enthusiastically consumed. Theatrical performances, musical shows, and prizefights attracted crowds willing to pay exorbitant admission fees. Violence pervaded these communities. Disputes over claims frequently escalated into gunfights. Vigilante justice predominated in the absence of established legal systems. Lynchings occurred with disturbing frequency, sometimes targeting genuinely guilty individuals but often motivated by racial prejudice or economic competition, the merchants who became millionaires. While the majority of prospectors failed to achieve wealth through mining, astute businesspeople recognized alternative paths to prosperity. The gold rush created unprecedented demand for goods and services, and those who positioned themselves to fulfill these needs often accumulated greater fortunes than miners. Samuel Brannan, the storekeeper who first publicized the gold discovery, became California's first millionaire not through mining but through strategic merchandising. His advanced purchase of mining equipment allowed him to sell supplies at enormous markups. Levi Strauss arrived in San Francisco intending to sell canvas for tents and wagon covers. Recognizing miners' need for durable work clothing, he pivoted to manufacturing riveted denim pants that could withstand harsh conditions. His invention became an American icon. Philip Armour operated a butcher shop in the goldfields, supplying meat to hungry miners. The capital he accumulated financed his subsequent Chicago meatpacking empire. Henry Wells and William Fargo established express delivery and banking services, eventually founding Wells Fargo and Company, which became integral to Western expansion. Collis Huntington, Mark Hopkins, Leland Stanford, and Charles Crocker, the Big Four, operated hardware and supply businesses during the gold rush, accumulating capital they later invested in the Transcontinental Railroad. These examples illustrate a fundamental truth: during economic booms, those selling shovels often profit more than those digging. Environmental devastation, the hidden cost. The gold rush inflicted unprecedented environmental destruction upon California's landscape. Hydraulic mining proved particularly catastrophic, washing millions of tons of sediment into rivers and streams. The Sacramento River became so clogged with debris that flooding became chronic, destroying agricultural lands and communities downstream. Forests disappeared as miners consumed timber for construction, fuel, and mine shafts. Mercury, used extensively in gold extraction processes, poisoned waterways and accumulated in ecosystems, creating toxic legacies that persist today. Entire hillsides were obliterated, valleys filled with mining waste, and rivers permanently altered. The romantic imagery of pristine wilderness conceals the reality that California's landscape bears permanent scars from this period. Native American tragedy, genocide in the goldfields. The gold rush precipitated catastrophic consequences for California's indigenous populations. Before 1848, approximately 150,000 Native Americans inhabited California. Within 2 decades, disease, violence, and displacement reduced this number to approximately 30,000, a population collapse of staggering magnitude. Miners invaded traditional territories, destroyed food sources, and committed atrocities with impunity. The California state government actively facilitated genocide through policies including the Act for the Government and Protection of Indians, 1850, which legalized Native American enslavement under the euphemism of apprenticeship. Vigilante groups and militias conducted systematic extermination campaigns. Bounties were offered for Native American scalps and body parts. Entire villages were massacred, including women and children. These atrocities were documented but rarely prosecuted. Diseases introduced by migrants, particularly smallpox, measles, and typhoid, devastated communities lacking immunity. Starvation became widespread as traditional hunting and gathering grounds were appropriated for mining. This dark chapter represents one of the most egregious examples of racial violence in American history, yet it remains insufficiently acknowledged in popular narratives of the gold rush, the Chinese experience, discrimination and perseverance. Chinese immigrants, arriving primarily from Guangdong province, constituted a substantial portion of California's population by the 1850s. They fled economic hardship and political turmoil, hoping California's gold mountain would provide prosperity. Chinese miners demonstrated remarkable industriousness and efficiency, often successfully working claims that others had abandoned as exhausted. This success, ironically, intensified racist hostility. The California Foreign Miners Tax of 1850 specifically targeted Chinese and Mexican miners, requiring monthly payments that effectively confiscated much of their earnings. Violence against Chinese miners escalated throughout the 1850s. Exclusionary laws prohibited Chinese testimony in court against white citizens, effectively denying them legal protection. Mob attacks on Chinese mining camps occurred with disturbing frequency, resulting in murders, expulsions, and property destruction. Despite systematic discrimination, Chinese immigrants established vibrant communities, constructed vital infrastructure including sections of the Transcontinental Railroad, and contributed significantly to California's development. Their perseverance in the face of overwhelming hostility represents an inspiring testament to human resilience. Women in the Gold Rush, invisible pioneers. While predominantly male, the gold rush included thousands of women whose contributions have been historically marginalized. These women demonstrated remarkable courage, adaptability, and entrepreneurial acumen. Some accompanied husbands or fathers as family units sought new opportunities. Others arrived independently, recognizing that frontier society offered unconventional paths to economic independence. Women operated boarding houses, restaurants, laundries, and bakeries, businesses that generated reliable income while miners' fortunes fluctuated wildly. Dame Shirley, Louise Clapp, documented her experiences in detailed letters that provide invaluable first-hand accounts of mining camp life. Her observations reveal both the hardships and the peculiar freedoms frontier society afforded women. Prostitution represented a significant, though morally controversial, economic opportunity. The scarcity of women in mining camps created tremendous demand, and some prostitutes accumulated substantial wealth. However, this profession exposed women to violence, disease, and social stigma. Mexican and Native American women faced particularly difficult circumstances, vulnerable to both racial and gender-based violence. Their stories remain largely unrecorded, contributing to the incomplete historical record. The decline, when the easy gold disappeared. By the mid-1850s, surface gold deposits had been substantially exhausted. Mining increasingly required capital-intensive operations including deep-shaft mines, hydraulic equipment, and industrial processing facilities. Individual prospectors found themselves unable to compete with corporate mining operations. Many disappointed 49ers remained in California despite failing to strike it rich, contributing to the state's permanent settlement and development. Others drifted to subsequent gold rushes in Colorado, Nevada, and Alaska, perpetually chasing the elusive dream of instantaneous wealth. The transition from placer mining, extracting gold from surface deposits, to hard rock mining, extracting gold from underground veins, fundamentally altered the industry's character. Corporate consolidation replaced individual enterprise. Miners became wage laborers rather than independent prospectors. Long-term consequences, transforming a nation. The gold rush's impact extended far beyond individual fortunes won or lost. It fundamentally transformed California, the American West, and the nation itself. Population growth. California's population explosion justified its rapid admission to statehood in 1850, bypassing the typical territorial phase. This accelerated settlement influenced national politics, particularly debates surrounding slavery's expansion. Economic development. The massive influx of capital and labor stimulated economic development throughout the West. Infrastructure including roads, telegraph lines, and eventually railroads connected California to the rest of the nation. Cultural impact. The gold rush epitomized American ideals of opportunity, individualism, and reinvention. The California dream became synonymous with the possibility of transformation and success, an idea that continues resonating in American culture. Technological innovation. Mining challenges stimulated technological advances in engineering, metallurgy, and transportation. Innovations developed for gold extraction found applications in other industries. Environmental precedent. The environmental devastation normalized industrial exploitation of natural resources, establishing patterns that continued throughout Western development. Ethnic diversity. Despite rampant discrimination, the gold rush created California's multicultural character, bringing together populations from around the world. Mythology versus reality. The enduring legend. The gold rush occupies a romanticized place in American mythology, celebrated in literature, film, and popular culture as an era of adventure, opportunity, and frontier spirit. This mythology emphasizes individual agency, dramatic success stories, and the promise of social mobility. Reality presented a more complex picture. The vast majority of prospectors failed to achieve significant wealth. Many died from disease, accidents, or violence. Environmental destruction was catastrophic. Native Americans experienced genocidal violence. Racial minorities faced systematic discrimination and exploitation. Yet the mythology persists because it embodies powerful cultural narratives. The possibility of reinvention, the romance of adventure, the American dream's promise that hard work and determination can overcome circumstances of birth. These ideas resonate deeply, even when historical evidence suggests they rarely materialized. Conclusion: the rush's enduring legacy. The California Gold Rush represents a pivotal moment in American history, a transformative episode that accelerated westward expansion, stimulated economic development, and shaped national identity. Its legacy encompasses both inspiring achievements and tragic injustices. The fortunes accumulated by a fortunate few inspired generations of dreamers. The infrastructure developed to support the gold rush facilitated California's emergence as an economic powerhouse. The cultural diversity created by global migration enriched American society. Simultaneously, the period's darker aspects, environmental devastation, Native American genocide, and systemic racial discrimination, reveal the profound costs of rapid, unregulated development driven by individual greed rather than collective welfare. Understanding the gold rush requires acknowledging both dimensions, the genuine opportunities it created and the tremendous suffering it inflicted. This balanced perspective honors the courage and determination of those who participated while recognizing the experiences of those who were victimized. The expression "there's gold in them hills" entered American vernacular, symbolizing hidden opportunity awaiting discovery. This optimistic belief continues influencing American culture, from Silicon Valley's technology rushes to contemporary cryptocurrency speculation. The fundamental impulse, the conviction that dramatic success remains possible through bold action, connects directly to the 49ers who abandoned everything to pursue California gold. Whether this belief represents inspiring ambition or dangerous delusion depends largely on individual perspective and experience. What remains indisputable is that the California Gold Rush fundamentally altered the trajectory of American development, transforming a remote frontier into an integral part of the nation and creating legends that continue captivating imaginations nearly 2 centuries later.